Hello there, and welcome to Wildcard Decks, a channel where we take a look at some of the more off-meta options available in Star Wars Unlimited. And today, as you can see, we are looking at a Swarming Vulture Droid deck. It's finally happening. Your results will vary, but you will have a lot of fun. And your opponent might also have a lot of fun as well. Possibly because they're laughing at you. But anyway, so let's get into the deck proper. Grand Admiral Thrawn is the leader that I've picked for the Swarming Vulture Droid. I think Dooku would be a second choice, but the reason I've gone with Grand Admiral Thrawn is because of the ability and the colour combination we can have. Because if you want to go with ECL with Dooku, then you're going to be double green. With blue, we get all of the events that we are looking for so that we can take a more controlling stance, and then we pick our moment and switch it up and swarm the opponent and hopefully win from there. So Thrawn's ability is to basically use a when defeated ability again when that unit is defeated. Now, we only have one unit in our deck that actually has a when defeated ability, which is Cobb Vanth. We'll get into Cobb a bit later, but he is one of the most important pieces in this deck. When Thrawn deploys on 6, his ability does not change whatsoever, and he's mainly there to get some damage into base and potentially be an overwhelming barrage target. Gone with Energy Conversion Lab, so 25 HP. It has the epic action of play a unit that costs 6 or less from your hand, give it ambush for this phase. There are only 2 targets in this deck that we really want to use ECL with, and those are Cobb Vanth and the Invisible Hand, both of which I'll get onto later. So, the card that this whole deck is built around is the Swarming Vulture Droid. If you're not familiar, as you can see, it is a colourless, it is aspectless, so you can play it to any deck you desire. It is a simple 2-2, so it's incredibly vulnerable and pretty weak and just dies to everything. But you can have 15 copies of this card, and this unit gets +1/+0 for each other friendly Swarming Vulture Droid. So if you've got 3 Vulture Droids out in total, then they will all have 4 power. So it can snowball and get out of hand for your opponent if you get it going. So that is what we're trying to do with this deck. Before we get into how we're going to do that, here are all of the other all of the other units we have that aren't necessarily enablers to get our Swarming Vulture Droids out. So Pike Sentinel, just to give us a bit of protection on the ground. Regional Governor is an interesting one and a very late include in the deck, because generally your opponent is going to have a much stronger and better game plan than what this deck is doing, so Regional Governor can throw a spanner in the works. A good example would be if you're playing against Green Villainy, Overwhelming Barrage can completely wipe out any Vulture Droid swarm that we've got going, so on 4 resources, or 5 if you have the initiative, play Regional Governor, name Overwhelming Barrage, they will not be happy. So that's the kind of thing we can do with that, and if you make a note as well, they are both 2-cost units, so with Cobb Vanth, when he is defeated, you can put them in your discard pile to then play them for free. So in some situations, you're not going to pick out a Swarming Vulture Droid, you'll pick out the Regional Governor or the Pike Sentinel, depending on what is going on. Victor Leader, so this gives every other friendly space unit +1/+1. So if we do have a swarm going, we give them another extra power, but also, crucially, another extra health. So it just makes them a bit harder to kill, so that they do not just die to literally everything. Similarly, we've got Cody. So when you have Coordinate, which means you need at least 3 units, which includes Cody as well. Each other friendly unit gets +1/+1 and gains Overwhelm. Don't really care about the Overwhelm, but the +1/+1, again, just buffing our droids even further. If you've got Victor Leader and Cody out, then you're having a grand old time. So we've just gone for 2 of those because it is a bit more situational and he's more expensive. So yeah, but it's quite nice that he can give Thrawn himself a buff as well. So on to the meat of the deck, and this is the Swarming Vulture Droids themselves, of course, along with all of our so-called enablers on how to actually play the droids out, because it seems a bit counterintuitive in a swarming Vulture Droid deck, but the worst thing you can do is play them from your hand, because as I say, they are not very good on their own. Paying 2 resources for this is not really worth it. So you can have 15. I find that 15 is probably too many, to be honest. 12 is generally going to be good enough. Unless you draw 6 in your opening hand, then you're in big trouble. But 12 seems to be a good number. But generally what we're trying to do is play Swarming Vulture Droids off of effects of the other cards that we have over here. So Bounty Hunter's Quarry, gone for 3 of those. The unit gets a bounty of search top 5 cards of your deck, or 10 if the unit is unique when you claim the bounty, for units that cost 3 or less, and play it for free. So you could go for your Swarming Vulture Droid. If you don't have Cobb Vanth in hand and it appears in your selection, then Cobb Vanth would definitely be the way to go, I would say. So that's one way we can play the Swarming Vulture Droid. Timely Intervention. This is basically so that we can ambush Cobb Vanth without burning ECL, because our best ECL target is the Invisible Hand, which I'll get onto in a minute. This is also an easy resource choice because it can be smuggled for 2. So for a price of 5, you can slam Cobb Vanth into whatever ground unit they have. Because he only has 2 health, he's going to die, most likely. And then you pull off the when defeated trigger twice. Speaking of, when defeated, search for top 10 cards of your deck for a unit that costs 2 or less and discard it. Then for this phase, you may play that card from your discard pile for free. So it takes actions to actually play them for free, unlike the Bounty Hunter's Quarry, where as soon as you claim the bounty, you play whatever unit you pick out. But yeah, with Cobb Vanth and Thrawn, when defeated, you can activate it twice. Generally, this is where you're going to want to play your Swarming Vulture Droids, and then you've got 2 out at the same time. So yeah, you can generate quite a lot of value with him. The biggest issue with Cobb Vanth is if they are not playing any ground units. If you're against Jump to Lightspeed Vader, yeah, he's not going to be doing a whole lot probably. But I mean, a potentially explosive start that you can have is if they have the initiative, or if you just pass, whatever. Put 2 Bounty Hunter's Quarry on whatever ground unit they play, and then the next turn, ECL Cobb Vanth into them to kill it, and you get 2 of these, and then you get 2 from him. So you could potentially get 4 Swarming Vulture Droids out straight away, which, that's kind of dreamland, but yeah. Generally, this deck is control, and then picking your moment to turn the screw and go into Swarm mode. The Invisible Hand. So this is our main ECL target, as I mentioned, 6/6, so it will kill a hell of a lot of things when it comes out. When played, and when this unit completes an attack. Now, complete an attack means it has to survive. So you may search top 8 cards of your deck for a droid unit, reveal it and draw it. If it costs 2 or less, you may play it for free. Swarming Vulture Droids cost 2, so they can be played for free. Now, ECL this thing, and you get the when played and the complete an attack, assuming it survives. So you can get 2 Swarming Vulture Droids out for free. So that's the main ECL target. Obviously, you can timely it as well when you have a few more resources. But yeah, these are our biggest 2 enablers of getting the swarm going. With Bounty Hunter's Quarry, a nice side piece as well. On to the rest of the events. So as you can see, I did say it's a bit of a control deck. We've got a lot of removal. I won't go into those specifically, to be honest. The Emperor's Legion is a card that sees 0 play whatsoever. It is mainly in here to guard against Overwhelming Barrage, because it would be very easy to wipe out 3 or 4 Vulture Droids if we have that many out. So if that were to happen, then at least we can bring them back to our hand. And I did say that playing them from your hand is not very good, but it does give you more cards in hand to make better resourcing decisions. Power of the Dark Side, I don't need to talk about that, you all know what it does. Reprocess. So this is a curious include, but choose up to 4 units in your discard pile, put them on the bottom of your deck in a random order, and create that many Battle Droid tokens. Now, in most decks, the fact that 4 units go to bottom of your deck from the discard pile, you're probably never going to see them, but when we've got Cobb Vanth, where we're searching 10 cards, and with Thrawn's ability, we're actually searching 20 cards, and with the Invisible Hand, we've got 8 cards, but if you've ECL'd it, then you're searching 16 cards. So we are cycling through the whole deck in a game pretty easily. So you will actually have a good chance of seeing whatever is on the bottom of your discard pile. If you're running out of Swarming Vulture Droids, then put them on the bottom, and you know you will be able to pick some more out later on. One thing I forgot to mention about Cobb Vanth is if you have taken the initiative and he is out, if your opponent kills him, you still have to activate the when defeated, but you're not going to be able to make use of it because you have to take an action to play it from your discard pile. So just something to be wary of in terms of timing, etc. Takedown, some removal, don't need to talk about it really. No glory, only results. So this is far better with Thrawn because you take control of the non-leader unit and then defeat it. So you get the when defeated trigger, and then you can do it again. So the probably the best target off the top of my head is K2SO because you can choose to do 3 damage to their base, which becomes 6, or you can have them discard a card, which becomes 2 cards. So it's like a pillage thrown in, which is probably the option I would go with for this deck. But yeah, particularly good with Thrawn. Overwhelming Barrage, don't need to talk about it. Rivals Fall, just in here to kill any leaders because, yeah, they could ruin our day a bit. And then in the sideboard, and I did take a genuine sideboard, I'm not entirely sure what other options I could really think of because, say, it's a Swarming Vulture Droid deck. You're kind of limited. Apology accepted. So if your opponent isn't playing any ground units, then you can kill Cobb with Apology accepted. Defeat friendly unit, you may give 2 experience tokens to a unit. You may not always be able to get the 2 experience tokens to anything, but at least you can get your 2 units out from Cobb. Confiscate, if you're against a pilot leader deck, then this would be a good addition to Rivals Fall so that you can get rid of that benefit. Unless it is Luke, of course, then you will have to Rivals Fall him. Outflank, so this is probably more of a theory piece. I'm not sure I would ever be able to put it in, to be honest. But attack with 2 units, 1 at a time. So if you've got a few Swarming Vulture Droids out, as I say, they are very easy to kill, they are very flimsy, so you can at least attack with 2 of them before they do something about it, potentially. Merciless Contest, so if you need to be even more control-y, then put this in. This does have good use if, again, they're not playing ground units and you really want to kill Cobb off, then you can pick Cobb as your target because you have to defeat one of your own units, non-leader units. Snoke, so the games do tend to go on for a fair amount of time, unless they kill you quickly, because this is a control deck. So Snoke, it's entirely plausible you are going to get to 8 resources, so giving them less power, whilst, you know, that kind of makes your own units more powerful as well by default. And then Avenger, again, another top-end control piece to help stabilize and get our swarm doing their thing. So yeah, bit short and sweet this video, but you know, when there's 12 cards taken up as 1 card, then it's going to be the case. But yeah, as I say in summary, if you're going to try this deck, your mileage is going to vary. We're here for a fun time, not a winning time necessarily. I've had pretty decent success with it online. In person, perhaps a bit less so, but it's a lot of fun. As I say, the key things to remember: don't play your Vulture Droid from hand unless you've got literally nothing else you can do. Get them out via Bounty Hunter's Quarry, Cobb Vanth, and the Invisible Hand, and then use all of the events to control your opponent and limit the damage coming in, and get yourself into a spot where we're able to change the switch, get the swarm going, and just pummel them and have a grand old time. So let me know what you think. I would probably look to revisit this in future. I'm not entirely sure what other cards will come out that will help with this whole deal, but you never know. Yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.